The Republican-led House Oversight Committee has released its report detailing its findings on Joe Biden's use of an Autopen during his presidency.
The use of an Autopen to replicate signatures is not unusual for a president, but the scathing report alleges that Biden's top aides used it to facilitate executive actions without his knowledge. Now, the leaders of the report are asking Attorney General Pam Bondi to open a full investigation into the matter. And they say all executive actions signed with the Autopen should be deemed invalid, including pardons. Now, the 100-page long report reads in part, as President Biden declined, his staff abused the Autopen and a lax chain of command policy in order to effect executive actions that lack any documentation of whether they were in fact authorized. The committee has found that there was in fact a cover-up of the president's cognitive decline and that there is no record demonstrating President Biden himself made all of the executive decisions that were attributed to him.
Now, the Oversight Committee is led by Representative James Comer, who says this will go down as, quote, one of the biggest political scandals in U.S. history. And House Speaker Mike Johnson joined in on the calls for Biden's presidential pardons to be voided.
And this report includes 47 hours worth of transcripts and testimony revealing that every executive action signed by the Autopen without written authorization from President Biden should be voided. This is an unprecedented situation in American politics and government. The actions of President Biden simply were not all his own actions, and there are major implications to that, including all the pardons that he signed.
Over the summer, as the committee was working on its report, Biden repeatedly denied the claims that his administration was issuing executive orders and pardons without him knowing about it. In a phone interview with the New York Times in July, he said, quote, I made every decision, and then called President Trump and other Republicans liars. Representative Robert Garcia, the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, released his own statement following the report. That statement reads, quote, despite this sham investigation, every White House official testified President Biden fully executed his duties as President of the United States. The testimonies also make it clear the former president authorized every executive order, pardon, and use of the Autopen.
As for what happens next, Pam Bondi says her DOJ team is already conducting its own review of the Biden administration's use of the Autopen. She says the new information in the House committee's report is extremely helpful, which is good news. Man,
talk about beating a dead horse. Yeah,
beating a dead horse. Well,
oh
we had the dead horse was our president.
No. And
I don't want him beaten. I want him held accountable.
I just want. Okay, before we get into it, because I think there's a lot to talk about here, and a lot that we might agree upon, a lot that we won't agree upon, certainly. But a major point and a reality check in this whole thing is that Axios reports this committee report was actually only issued by Republican-led majority, meaning no Democrats wanted to do this, and it was also cherry-picked. They cherry-picked parts of this entire transcript and testimony by Biden's team, and full transcripts and the interviews are not even available, and they'll be released later. So once we have all that information, I'm happy to sort through this with you. But because Republicans only picked through the information and decided what was best and what was worst, then that is what we're going off of. And, you know, anything can be salacious if I clip together parts. We know that apparently Trump thinks that Canada's team in government is being salacious because they pick parts of a speech that actually go together and tell a story that a past president was trying to tell. So if that's the case, we don't like cherry picking. Let's just have equal opportunity, no cherry picking. This team is cherry picking. And so once we get that clear, we understand that, right? We can't just have
Let's do it this
only
way.
Republicans picking out sound bites.
Let's get President Biden back on camera.
Because he was on camera just this week, so.
Giving a prepared remark. Let's ask him, like, President Biden, we'll read through all the names. We'll put some fake names in there and see if he can tell the difference. Did you pardon this person?
Well, who wants a quiz?
Did you pardon this person?
You know, like he should be in his retired phase of life. Who wants to get quizzed, Robbie? That's ridiculous. I
bet he wouldn't know who he'd pardoned and who he hadn't. I bet he wouldn't know.
So,
I mean, I know that he didn't know because I did a radar a year ago about how he had inadvertently pardoned the Cash for Kids scandal judge. Do you know of this? This was a infamous scandal. I think it's from Pennsylvania.
But Trump has a pardon czar.
Let me finish. And they pardoned this guy who, you know, reprehensible, sent kids to a detention center because he'd been paid to send them there. It was a whole scandal. Got released during COVID, was supposed to go back to jail, just got a pardon, and the administration got out, why did you pardon this guy? And they said, we pardoned this guy? What? We have no idea what you're talking about. They didn't even know. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what he was doing while he was president.
Historically,
and that's the concerning thing.
Presidents pardon a lot of people, every single president, Democrat and Republican, and
Yeah.
Trump has a pardon czar, meaning that he might be like, oh, she advised me, yeah, okay, let's do it.
And then he says
I hope
it on
for the
Truth
most part
Social
that they
and explains
pick.
why he's doing it, which
Okay,
is nice.
sure.
And you know that's him.
Sure.
That's not an aide writing
Listen,
that.
I don't know. Trump is our oldest
I can
inaugurated
tell-
president. I can't tell. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder.
Does anyone think an aide is writing his Truth Social posts? I don't. I think that's him.
Look,
In fact, I know it's
I think
him.
I'll find a point
I would
that we
bet
can,
my life on it.
I'll find a point that we can discuss about this because I think that we agree here. When I saw that, and I found it interesting that some of his closest aides, Biden and Joe Biden, because we know Joe Biden was the warden in this situation from what we understood, a lot of those closest aides in this investigation have pleaded the fifth. So they won't even give any information surrounding whether Biden was sheltered in any way or whether he had, and not about the Autopen, specifically about his cognitive
they don't want to
decline.
talk about it.
Right, which I think is interesting. But I think that Steve Ricchetti, he said he's one of Biden's top aides. He said that he blamed the chattering class on why Biden had this downfall. And he thought that it was the chattering class of the same media that you don't like the same media that's starting to criticize President
that
Biden
is
after that.
ridiculous.
I think that, so when I saw that, I was like,
Absolutely
I'm going to give Robbie his moments here
ridiculous.
because
No,
I think
it's not the media's fault that Biden, it is the media's.
he said it was a cheap shot and the chattering class that made that disastrous debate performance more exacerbated than what he actually felt it was and what the team knew what happened was that he had a tired guy there.
He's delusional. That is a delusional perspective. That's the perspective of the inner circle and Karine Jean-Pierre.
I must say, maybe it goes to say there's more than one
Biden
person that
deadenders.
has that thought because Karine Jean-Pierre said there's nothing was wrong
there's
with
7 of them, and they're morons for thinking this. They're just so, they could not be more out of touch. They should not work in politics again. They should leave the country. They should be phased out.
Extraditing folks just because of a belief?
Well, they're wrong and they're bad. And look, it's not my problem. They have wrecked the Democratic Party's credibility with the American people. I guess that's good news for Republicans. They're Republicans' best friend.
No, they're going to independent now.
Yeah, they're going independent.
Or maybe they should go to your party.
They should go away. We don't want them.
To.
We don't want
You
them.
can't speak for the whole party.
I'm speaking right now for everyone with an independent bone in their body. We don't want these people who are more loyal to Joe Biden than to the country. They were loyal to a man when they should have been loyal to principles and to our country and to our system of governance, and they failed. And the pardons, look, the reasons the pardons matter is because Hunter Biden was pardoned. Dr. Fauci was pardoned.
You don't think he was aware that he pardoned his own son?
I think he was probably aware.
Okay, come on now. So thank you.
Although, may I have your hand? So this is you got the pen. This is Jill Biden going, yes.
Well, I'm a mom.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. I'm pardoning my son, and I would
well,
bet my life on the fact that President Trump would pardon any of his children, and he would probably do it midterm. He wouldn't even have the nerve to wait till the end and step out of office like Biden did. He was trying to say, no, I won't do it, and then waited till he leaves so the criticism could die away. President Trump would do it the same day that his son got
The one
arrested.
I care about the most is the Fauci pardon, because there is credible evidence brought forth that Dr. Fauci was the foremost advocate of gain-of-function research being conducted in unsafe lab conditions in China. This research was paused by Barack Obama. President Obama issued an order to stop doing this research. They kept doing it anyway. Dr. Fauci personally signed off on funding for this research. This research is plausibly linked to the origins of the pandemic. Again, contrary to what Barack Obama ordered at the time. This is very necessary in my mind to investigate and get to the bottom of whether that was the origins of COVID, whether it was our own doing. They're blaming cultural practices of Chinese people. Oh, Chinese people eat bat. That's why it happened. This is our research we paid for. That is important to find out so we don't do it again. And that investigation was foreclosed by this pardon. And that was
you said some key words there. Very necessary to get to the bottom of whether that's the root cause.
Yeah.
And so once we do that, President Trump would try to get Fauci in jail and then figure it out later. We need to figure that out first and then not attack
We can't even
Fauci.
figure it out now.
Okay, up next, Vice President J.D. Vance still confident that the Israel-Hamas ceasefire will hold despite Netanyahu launching strikes in Gaza. More on that coming up after this.